We're starting a bit earlier than planned because obviously we had a long break. We finished a bit earlier. So it's my pleasure now to introduce Nollaig, Byrne and Kearney, who, as I understand it from speaking with them briefly, are compatriots, collaborators, colleagues, and they didn't say this, but I think co-conspirators might be what I've gathered. So they will tell you more about their relationship with Imelda, but I know that Nollaig said that they worked together for 15 years, and Phil had Imelda as a mentor, and then they became colleagues, so look forward to hearing all about it.
Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, everyone, for this welcome and for arranging this extraordinary event, which is much more moving than I anticipated. A bit like Monica, I felt moved to tears with the opening, and they may come again. I'm sure you'll understand. We are here to celebrate our fabulous colleague, and also our fabled colleague. I called her fabulous, Nollaig called her fabled. And those words have the same root of fable, so we're going to do some storytelling about our experiences together. I think it's a bit modest to talk about 15 years. I think it's longer than that. For me, 40 plus, and for Nollaig, getting up there close to that. But we will talk a lot about our teamwork, practice, and Imelda's role, central role in that. I hand you over to Nollaig. Oh yeah, we're going to start with some music. And this is a favourite song of Imelda's, Raglan Road, sung by Kelly. Nollaig will tell you more, but we think it will create the mood of Dublin and the atmosphere that we would like to generate for our conversation.
On Raglan Road of an autumn day, I saw her first and knew that her dark hair would weave a snare that I might one day rue. I saw the danger and I passed along the enchanted way, and I said, let grief be a fallen leaf at the dawning of the day.
Bhean Gheal is the title of an old Irish air collected in the 1850s. The air and the title are all that remain, and we thought that this was a very apt descriptor for Imelda. We don't know who the Bhean Gheal was, but we know she was an earthly person, and that she was Gheal, and that she inspired an exceptional air that has survived for a very long time. In our tribute to Imelda, we have selected the term on Bhean Gheal as an invocation for how Imelda appears. Her quick intellect, her witty and warm disposition, and the guide-like clarity that she brought to our endeavours. Bhean we're using to denote earthiness, not spare Bhean. That's the Irish word for kind of a fairy spirit. And Gheal, as we use it in Irish, goes further for us than the English translation bright, and captures the clarity, brightness, openness, and shining forth in which Imelda appears and shows herself. So you see, the music we selected for the title is not the old Irish air, but a contemporary piece by our esteemed poet Patrick Kavanagh, as a homage to his lost love, Elder Moriarty. Kavanagh gifted the song to the singer Luke Kelly in 1966, some 22 years after he composed it. Now, when Imelda belongs to many communities, she is first and foremost a Dublin girl. Dublin's not only the place where she was born and has always lived, she owns Dublin. Its streets, its buildings, and all the famous places. And if you've ever had the good fortune of being brought around Dublin, she will have introduced you to them all. Now, this expanse of personalising the tour requires only a small exaggeration on her part, as she weaves her way through this marvel of personal connections. Now, she claims that she did meet Luke Kelly at a party, and true to form, they exchanged indecorous greetings. And I'm sure that she and Michael, when they were young, often met the dishevelled poet Patrick Kavanagh as he ambled around Dublin. Raglan Road is a much-loved song, tracing the streetscape and moods of Dublin in the words of the spellbound and forlorn poet. It is a great Dublin song, and Imelda loves it.
And here she is in her more recent incarnation.
Okay. This, actually, I think this photo was taken in Bedfordshire, and it
After Brighton.
Brighton. Okay. Well, it was in the UK anyway.
The next door islands, yeah.
Okay, so this photo has got colour, it's got presence. She's announcing her arrival. She's willing to engage and give all sorts of confident opinions, willing to share her personal experiences, and happy and secure in the group of colleagues and friends and the circle of love that surrounds her. Now,
we did have a little row.
We had a row about
this, here's Nollaig giving the fifth province away to Imelda, and so I was pulling it back, saying that it was of shared origins, shared genesis.
Yeah.
It is your signature.
Yeah.
You brought it to us.
Thank you. We'll come to that. I told you she wouldn't stay quiet.
So why did we say it is your signature?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, the fifth province has many dispersals and many applications. But the architecture, drawn from Irish geography and history, and using Smithsonian cybernetic concept of symmetry and complementarity, conjoined to an ethical disposition of openness as a systemic analysis for situations of complexity, both in analysis and clinical practice, belongs to you. Furthermore, she's continued in her work, in her publications, in her work with students and mentees, and in her many presentations. And in recent years, she has drawn the fifth province, the Sangha group, the fifth province practice into an alignment with her modality of spiritual practice. Do you want to add anything?
No, I would like to move now to Imelda's family. Kevin, Eileen, Imelda in the middle, and Colette in front. And I had a thought just when in the opening, in the wonderful opening exercise. Kevin, Imelda's dad, delivered bread to the people of Dublin. And I'd never thought before that you've continued delivering food to a much wider network.
There's a 9-year gap between Imelda and her only sibling, Colette. And apparently this is the last family photo of this group before Colette was tragically killed in 1970. Imelda and her parents, to us, appeared to veil that great loss with a great reserve of acceptance. Now, in another family, such a calamity might have heightened experiences of personal vulnerability and a sense of external danger. But in Imelda's case, she had absorbed her parents' great belief in her star talent, and she harnessed herself to hard tasks. She embraced adventure, and she's galloped ahead ever since with hopeful optimism.
Note the horsey metaphors, Michael. I was suggesting we told one of your jokes here, but I wasn't allowed to read. But the theme of grief does filter through our collective stories. We lost students and colleagues and family members, but the solidarity of the team experience brought us through that, enabled us to rise above, perhaps, or integrate those experiences in the way that Nollaig has just described Colette's death. But I think it's very good in this community and at this time to remember those people that we've lost.
Next slide, please.
Sure.
Do I go?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know where this photo was taken. The percentage of us with roses. Sweden.
We just checked the dirt.
But anyway, the title for this slide is Friendship. And what I have here written down is kind of a distillation of, from lots of sources, but thinking about us three and what we've been through. So it is a distillation, and you interrupt me whenever. Yeah. We found these lines of Emily Dickinson, and we thought that was kind of a good way to place yourselves. So it's tell all the truth, but tell it slant.
What's
Sit-
that?
Slant, like that. Bend backward. You don't have to get it all out in one go.
Not directly.
Not directly. Just, success and serpent lies, and you see the play on the word lies. But anyway, while it is unclear, we don't know what Dickinson may be speaking of. Here we're using it as an ethical placeholder that recognizes the value of reticence in securing a friendship. Imelda lives in many communities of friendships. And today we can say that we appreciate what we created together and what grew us into friendship. The value base of our work as systemic practitioners and following Bateson that prioritise relationship assisted us in going forward together. And now it exists, the work and the history, as a communal source of recollection, the storehouse of recollection for us. Although it was established by working together, there was more in how we selected and preferred each other, and how we've ended up, we created things in a confidential space, and we've ended up with an enduring partiality for each other. Good friendships, it is said, need probation, require a long duration and some effort, until they are no longer marked by time or obligation. Us three stay in friendship, not for any existing debt or benefit, but for the shared expression of the value of our entwined lives. While we're latched together in our affinities and in our history, freedom allows, our differences lie in the category of freedom, and I'll speak about that later. And here Dickinson gives us permission to speak about each other and to each other, more indirectly, more hesitantly, and if we have occasions to exert influence, we do it in softer forms.
I'll just summarise this. Nollaig is saying, for Christ's sake, don't tell them everything. Am I correct, yeah? I got it?
No. You have to read Dickinson on your understand. Okay. Well, okay. You go ahead.
Sure. So we are here to honour our colleague, who was an outstanding leader and pioneer in Ireland of systemic therapy. From the mid-70s, she was leading us, along with others, but in a very, very focused way. You remember you discovered the other day when you're looking for the tape, the videotape, you discovered that document of describing the courses that you and others were running in the late 70s.
But you found it.
I come to that. Yeah. We'll come to that. But so we wish to really acknowledge the pioneering in our country that Imelda, and of course it is translated much wider now. And we've summarised here that she was that pioneer, courageous and confident in standing over a practice development that was homegrown and outward looking. And we did a lot of exploring in our own cultural sources to develop that, and we will come to that later. Did you want to say something?
Well, the pedigree of her ideas flow still from unabashed and enduring commitment to the systemic view. I just want to say that if you ever want to listen to Imelda on a rant, she does that very well, she's a big rant about the slackening mentality in systemic education and practice. And she's very steadfast and faithful to where we came from in terms of Bitsonian ideas. Well, we spoke already about her present. You want me to explain spiritual extension?
I said so. What is a spiritual extension, please?
Well, I think it is maybe always there, but the journey she took into this unfamiliar place to bring that dimension, and that I know that she set up workshops with groups of practitioners who are interested in this. So that's what I refer to as a spiritual extension. And then her intellectual generosity in her many presentations, and the way she works and supports and mentors so many people. And that's
the reference here is to her spiritual teacher, Sri Vasudeva, and some of the members of her Sangha group are with us today. Yes.
Okay.
So here is a clip of the video from the principal talk show in Ireland, 1979. There was a group visiting from the Ackerman Institute, and somehow, I was away in the States myself at the time, so I wasn't involved, but Imelda, possibly Nollaig, others organised to put family therapy on the national stage, on the major talk show. Don was there, Phoebe Prosky was there, who did a sculpt on the programme, and there's a brief clip just to give you a flavour of Imelda in full flight in 1979. I hope you're able to hear this.
Imelda, in the Irish context, you see that there would be a fair amount of resistance because we tend to walk away from the truth, walk away from facing ourselves.
I used to think that, but I think that had something to do with my confidence. As soon as I became fully committed and adopted the philosophy that what affected one member in a family affected every member in some way, then I became much more sure that this was the way to work. And since then I've met very little resistance.
For me, that captures it. The set of the jaw, the determination is there, is so evident. And the acknowledgement of the shift that had taken place. And doesn't she look fantastic? How much time have we got? Oh, gee, we got a flash on then. Right. This is about her academic achievements.
Well, I just want
Go on.
Just one thing that I wanted to say about Imelda's formation and her work with us, that her achievement didn't just fall from the sky or drift up. She's apart from her wonderful talents and intelligence, she's a most industrious person. She's focused, determined, meets deadlines, gets the work done, and we've learned so much more about that.
She's dragged us along.
Yeah, dragged us along, yeah.
These are some of the students in the training program.
We founded this program at the Model Hospital, the three of us, and
some of them are here today. Colette. Hi, Colette.
Hi, Colette.
Who else is there?
Mariki, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, next one, yes.
Valerie.
Okay, there's just to prove we really did have students.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's Patty. Patty is here. That's the closing out of the program, the Model Hospital, where now it's moved to UCD.
38 years.
38 years for Valerie runs it. Okay.
Just to name the two key figures there, right in the centre, Paul Quaid, and to the woman in the white jacket, Sister Jo Kennedy. They were key in giving us the opportunity to experiment as a team.
Some of you may know Jim Sheehan. He's their position there.
Now the mentors, very briefly, here are significant figures that Imelda acknowledges as key influences.
Gabriel.
Kiley there with Monica.
Mario
Montalvo
Montalvo.
from Philadelphia.
He was her first clinical supervisor, and she speaks a lot about him.
Yeah, one of the authors of Families of the Slums.
That's right.
Sam, Lucian, who all of you will know of, I'm sure, and you and he became close friends and collaborators. Likewise with Harry Gulishan on Galveston. These were key influences for Imelda and for all three of us. And Gianfranco, another tragic story of a man taken too young in an accident, but huge influence on us and great character. And the key women influences, Lynn, who would be here if she had not left us so recently, and of course, a very youthful Monica. Beautiful Monica. So there
Just to say that these are the people that Imelda gave us, are her key mentors. Other people have influenced her, but she thinks of these as her mentors.
And Lynn very significantly came to us directly from the Milan Centre in 1981 and said to us, form a team. She gave us a very instructive interaction, and it fitted very well because we were in our first year as a training team, floundering, trying to stay a week ahead of the students. And with this gave us a model, combined with the Milan training model, which we implemented to the letter. So we've got lots more, but we've been instructed, have we, to stop? Oh wow, thank you, Kiri, that's great. Okay. Now here's us as a team. We were following the Milan injunction, which is, first of all, you've got to look for the hypothesis. So we searched for it here, and then we searched for it there. Supervised by Lynn Hoffman and with Pascalo and Shakeen as the observing team. And Maturana is sitting beside. So, and then these are some of the key influences. Having formed a team and following Milan, we realized it was not Irish enough for us. We found the hypothesis, we could go with the circularity, but neutrality, no thank you. We needed to find some other metaphors, and this is what led us to the fifth province. I came back from my training in the States in 1980 and had nowhere to live, so I camped with these folks here, Michael and Imelda, for many a night, and felt a bit of a debt to them. So I went looking for a coffee table book for them, and came up with this one by Louis Le Brocquet, or Dorothy Walker writing about Louis Le Brocquet, the perhaps most famous Irish artist, and brought it and presented it to them. I hadn't read it, hadn't opened it, but Imelda read it and found in it metaphors, ideas, directions. He was talking about art, but we took these ideas of ambivalence and the artistic endeavour and applied that to our work as a team. Did you want to comment? No. Then the source of the diamond shapes, which you see around us here. We went really deep back to Newgrange, which some of you may have visited, 5,000-year-old megalithic structure just north of Dublin, where on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, the beam of light, the rising sun, goes into the chamber and illuminates this triple spiral structure on the walls inside the chamber. It's quite remarkable, extraordinary construction and experience to be there. If you haven't visited, I encourage you to do so. But from this we took the motif of the spiral, and they also have all of these diamond shapes, which combine those. Imelda's had learned mapping of systems from Salmanution, brought that back home. So we combined two triangles, Minuchin-style triangles, created the diamond, and then put the spiral in it to indicate how we moved through the quadrants of the conversation. Please do that. And then the crane bag. This is one that really influenced Lynn Hoffman a great deal. This is where we found the metaphor of the fifth province. Edited by Mark Patrick Hedeman and Richard Kearney, no relation. But these two philosophers essentially had trawled up this metaphor, which has been described very vividly by Monica already, and I think most of you probably have the essence of the idea of this place, where it's possible to hold two conflicting ideas or more in balance at the one time? Please do ask.
There are no people.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're going to go.
Well, maybe, I don't know, we've no time, I think, but anyway, I'll just do this one. I'm going to tell the story, Peter and Wendy.
Very quick. Oh, you want to go to that? Right.
I'll go to Peter and Wendy, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
There
there,
we
we'll put it. When we were in Milan mode, we were struggling a lot with the notion of paradoxical intervention. And in those days, when I going to the doctor for a prescription, you had to give the family something. You had to say something, do something. So we never could really understand paradox very well. Maybe the mathematics of it escaped us, the logic, we didn't get it. So we started using allegories for the family. And they were drawn from myths or contemporary sources. But when we were preparing for this allegory, when Philip went through this period of creativity we had, where we were looking at a new range and thinking of Milan and, you know, looking back at ourselves, that we were very sequestered, and they seemed to enjoy that very much. But this allegory came to mind to me recently, and I just couldn't resist it, and I thought Phil would hate it. And it's a story written by J.M. Barrie. It was called Peter and Wendy. He wrote it in 1904, and was revised on many, many occasions and popularized as Peter Pan. And Peter Pan, as you know, represents youth, adventure, and innocence. And Wendy is at home with her mother, but she wants to have adventure. And Peter likes at the Darling household, and he so desperately wants Wendy to go with him on this awfully big adventure. And he promising her it would be such great fun. And the only directions he gave to her was, follow that star to the right and straight on till morning. So I saw such parallels with Peter and Wendy, with Imelda and Phil. And then I said, well, geez, I should be in this story too. And, well, I'm Tinker Bell, she's the fairy. And the other one, Tiger Lily, she's kind of a romantic character, so that wasn't me. So I realized I must be Mrs. Darling, sitting at home, looking after everything. And as you know in the story, Wendy did come back from her big adventure. And Peter, because he always looks for adventure, and he's compelled to stay in that state of looking for adventure always. But there are days when I resort to being Mrs. Darling, and you're having your adventures on the high seas. And my Imelda friend becomes Wendy again, and Sky walks into such unfamiliar places that I can't reach her.
Just if I make tiny footnotes about Imelda's academic rigor, combined with this woman's intellectual curiosity, deepened the theoretical and philosophical substance of what we did. I went on my walkabouts and brought back various ideas, so I had my part in it too. But my key message is teamwork, actually. This was the most extraordinary, outstanding professional experience of my life when I think of our collective lives. And I urge you, if you haven't had teamwork experience, please go and try and find it. I know it may be harder to do in these days, but it was so valuable.
Can we just finish on Rowdy Girl?
Oh,
I don't know if you
sure.
know the term Rowdy Girl. Sorry, we've
Yeah, tons of stuff.
sorry.
Okay. Go on, you got it.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So, listen, in going back to our youth, I want to include these photos of Imelda and how we were together, and how she pushed me and pulled me, and protected me and encouraged me, and made us laugh a lot. And that's how we're closing. Sorry we had to skip so much of our Swedish colleagues. And
I liked your reference, Monica. You organised a major alcohol conference. We had them all the time. Thank you all very much.